Today, let's talk about upgrades that you could do to your greenhouse that will make it the ultimate greenhouse. Not all of these ideas I have even implemented myself. Some of those we're going to show you right now, and then we'll get to those that I think this would upgrade this one and many other greenhouses exponentially. Well, while we're here first, outside, you can see that we have a solar panel. I have to have it in this position where I have to move it continually. Maybe someday I'll get it on a swivel system, but the problem is we have way too many winds and I don't really want to work. I'm worried about what will happen. So it seems to be working the best right here. The sun comes from that way, hits here in the morning, and then in the evening, props up like this in case I need it. But this is what I'm talking about. First thing is a solar panel for a solar system so that you can have energy inside of your greenhouse that's independent from the grid. Now, let's into the real life messy greenhouse that's not cleaned. Now, one of these main things that we added or we felt like we needed the very first on was a working surface. One of the best parts about this working surface is I could stand here, use things, and still have like a table, a working table. And then if I'm working with stuff like dirt, it's underneath me. It also will fall through just in case. I'm sure you've seen that in many other greenhouses, but I'll tell you, it really does make a big benefit having one of these here. A future upgrade we want to do is probably somewhere in here we'll have a working surface and then also a sink. Maybe vice versa, sink over here, working surface over there. But that is an upgrade that I think we would really like inside of the greenhouse or right outside of the greenhouse so that everything is compact and then we can rinse our fruit and then also do our seed starting right here where there's, open space and we could do all of that. So this was a huge upgrade and made this greenhouse really very just usable. Speaking of surfaces, not just a working surface, but also a growing surface. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 shelves in here that are pretty big. I'm 6 foot, so it gives a good example of how big this thing is and how tall it is. And we can also hang things from the ceiling, but this growing surface has really helped with things like when we do our seed starting. We do everything on these trays with soil blocking, and they fit perfect on those shelves. And then when it comes to these shelves, we did everything with this fine mesh grate also so that light can still make its way through from the top. And it's something we wanted to consider as we were growing inside of this greenhouse or doing seed starting. But we also had it in mind that these trays would fit perfect right here. And they'll actually fit too deep, especially if I set them in this orientation. I can really grow a lot in here. Well, like I said, this is a messy greenhouse this year and a little bit unmanaged because we didn't grow everything in here. But, so this has turned to storage for temporarily. But what we have done under here is also we have a growing space that's done in the greenhouse for, winter growing. We don't really need it too much, and it's not something that we used very much. I'll probably use it as we go into the as we go into the fall a little bit more, just to keep them warm for a prolonged season. Now we actually have these under beds in 2 areas, one over there that's shorter and half the size, and another one that's over here, the full length. We actually do have one thing that's kind of growing. Let me show you what it is. I had planted mountain mint in here last year, and I thought it was going to die. Plus, it's not getting lots of rain or anything in here because I have been mismanaging it. But mountain mint smells great, still growing. And now that I know it's here, we're going to just water it a lot more. Now, this doesn't have anything to actually do with gardening, but I really like to have some sort of cooking surface inside of the garden. Oh, it's this side. I really like to have some sort of cooking service. I like to have some sort of cooking surface inside of the greenhouse for anything while we're out here. We spend a lot of time in this garden, and it's kind of far away from our house, so that we don't have to walk up or drive up to the house. We can just cook inside of here. So I mean, even if it's like right next to your house, even if your greenhouse is right next to your house, having a cooking surface in your greenhouse is kind of like having an outdoor kitchen, especially if you had a sink in here. Another big upgrade was storage. Now, I know it seems a little silly that I'm talking about storage with how messy it is in here right now, but I'm in the middle of cleaning it. That doesn't mean that this storage is still useful and will be useful to clean up all of the messes in here. But it also makes it easy because the storage I have, which is up and out of the way, the sun does not come from this direction, the sun comes from your direction. That's up and out of the way and it won't cast a shade on anything. And it's in here for when I need it. I also did, again, this is extra messy, storage down there so that any extra like fertilizer bags or it's really lime. I don't really do fertilizer too much. We use our animals as fertilizer, but like bags of stuff will go down here. And that's why we don't have a full growing bed on this side. But while we're here, and you can see this, that chest reveals another thing that I think has been a super cool, awesome addition to this greenhouse. And that is a water purification center. We get water, as another upgrade, we get water to our greenhouse right here from what I call our ultimate rainwater collection system. So this rainwater totally enters the greenhouse strictly from rainwater caught off of our roof, which is a metal roof, and then collected and then stored down here. Now, if we want pure, clean, unadulterated water, we have these water filtration systems. And that water purification system also has a UV filter, which is where, we kind of talked about this earlier, our electricity that we have in here, which is where our electrical system, our greenhouse backup generator battery thing, is running 24/7, keeping that UV filter on and keeping this water not only filtered but clean and kills off pathogens because of that UV filter. And then this is the backup storage for the clean water. So if I need the clean water for anything or my plants, it's going to be accessed right out of this. If I could try and turn it on one hand for you. Right out of that. Now this is a temporary setup. I have it inside of this chest, this ice chest, because I want to stop it from potentially freezing when it does come into winter, but I may have this fully taken out of here anyway. Just wanted to show you this is our kind of setup. And not only was that rainwater system, water purification thing, it really such a beneficial, really great additive to this greenhouse. Something else that was really needed, and I didn't realize how much I needed it. Well, we have to climb up here to show you. A fan. This fan has made it way more enjoyable in here. I don't know if you can tell, I'm super sweating. It's about to be a massive storm, so it's really sweaty in here. Really moist outside. But this thing is still keeping it just really great. Not only that, I can see the temperature, it's 91 up here. That's pretty crazy with a 54% humidity. And it will turn on automatically depending on the settings I give it and help cool it down in here. Honestly, it really helps, especially when I'm using these surfaces for growing surfaces and up here at the top. And the fact that it also gives me the readings, awesome. And then this is kind of just like a whatever upgrade, but really is pretty handy, especially if you want to be out here at night, because the greenhouse is just a beautiful, awesome place to be. A light. And that also is connected to the backup battery generator. I keep saying generator, but it's a battery that gets charged through solar, so it's a solar battery. Now, one of the biggest upgrades that I think you can make, and I want to make for myself, is not only that sink, I think that is awesome, which I don't have yet, but the other thing is some sort of heating element in here. This greenhouse is totally off-grid, especially having to do with the water, the solar generator, but also it needs heat. Because if you're unfamiliar and you just think that a greenhouse will keep all the heat in and keep it warm in here, well, the problem is greenhouses work really effectively during the day and then into the evening. But as soon as it gets cold enough, all of the heat inside of here expels out. It equalizes with the temperature outside. And then if your plants are going to frost or die, they'll frost and die. And one of the best ways to go against that is keeping it warm at those coldest temperatures of the night. So one thing I want to add is some sort of heating element, like like one of those wood burning stoves that I can slowly burn logs, so that in those nights that I know are going to be frosty and cold, I can at least put it in here. Because not only is it great for the plants growing and staying warm, but also for us hanging out in the winter months if it's snowing or extra cold. But as a side note, I've seen other people do this. And I'm not sure if I'm going to, just because the space that I have. That's put wood mulch or compost on the outsides of your garden, on the outsides of your greenhouse, way up high, so you get most of the wood mulch or compost right here. And as that compost down, it will also protect and keep it warm on the inside. So that is a thing that I'm really looking into and somewhat considering. You could think of it like insulation for your greenhouse, so that during the winter or the night times, all of that warmth will hopefully stay in, or at least keep the cold out. So to sum it up, the main things that I think are best for upgrading a greenhouse are electricity, storage, ventilation, shelving, and water. Oh, and heat. Heat is very important also. Now let's just talk about quality of life upgrades real quick right before we go on what I want to do with my greenhouse. That is, I have these pallets right here that are just for walking up, so it's stable without all this mulch in front. But I want to build a little patio right in the front with side rails, and maybe I'll put that sink out here too. These are just thoughts. But the other thing I would really love to do somewhere right around here, maybe even on the back side because it's a little bit more private, is put an outdoor shower just to rinse off in case you get like just messy from all of the gardening that you're doing. Oh, and just because I'm here, I forgot to tell you, the drip from the RO systems have to expel water out, or good ones expel water out as they go and they clean the water. Now this is rainwater, so it's not necessarily chemical water from the city. So I feel more comfortable with the water that comes out. That's the flush water. Now that flushed water comes out and will go to certain plants of mine because it really takes a lot. I think it's like 5 gallons to 1 gallon. 1 gallon of fresh water to 5 gallons of expelled water. So I want to use that. So that's one thing that I used as an upgrade to help water our plants. Now, if there's anything I've missed or you would do to upgrade yours, or have done, let me know in the comments because I'd love to talk about it and even get some of your ideas. And if you're curious about my ultimate rainwater system, which I've talked about, and how I bring water into the greenhouse, I'll leave a link at the end of the video for you to follow over to that. And you'll see exactly how we get all of the rainwater to our garden, especially because it's so far away from our house. And until then, I'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.